This is the approach to the centre of Cambridge, a lovely city in England. But apart from the fact that it takes you half an hour to read all the signs, what they're doing is emphasising all the characteristics of the highway, the control, the standardised information, just at the point when you need to emphasise the human and social context. Another strange juxtaposition between the wonderfully rich context and architecture and this strange and somewhat out of place regulatory language of the signs and bollards and markings. And it means that neither works well as a result. It's a strange mixture of messages. We don't really need to be told that an advisory speed of 10 miles an hour, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious you need to be beware of pedestrians. What these signs are doing is treating the driver as if they were an idiot. And that, of course, is a very dangerous thing to do, to treat the driver as if they have no intelligence, because we know from psychology that if you do so, drivers exhibit no intelligence. That signs in the social realm simply do not work at all. Signs tell us what other signs mean, signs that treat us as complete imbeciles, signs that simply have no effect on our behaviour at all. People adapt to their surroundings very quickly. You can see this most clearly spaces which are not formal highway, but allow cars and people to mix together, such as campsites or other informal places. And it becomes important when we seek to improve the way we can read space. And that means avoiding the use of things like centre line markings or signs that tell us the obvious. We know from centre line markings that they tend to increase traffic speeds, so we have a contradiction in this picture, and they also reduce our awareness of the periphery, what's happening in the edge of our vision. They draw the eyes to the horizon. Measures like this achieve the exact opposite effects from the ones that they're intended. The shared space relies on an understanding of traffic speed and how you can achieve a balance between movement and journey times and the relationship with people. And to understand that, it's important to recognize that there appear to be important qualitative differences which begin to occur below the speed of about 22 miles an hour. Interestingly, that's the same as the design speed of humans. We can run, fit young adults can run at about 22 miles an hour or 31, 32 kilometers an hour. Not only is there a dramatic reduction in the danger to people, obviously at below speeds, but also that our comfort levels with traffic go through a dramatic change at around the speed at which we have evolved to cope with. And it therefore makes sense to try to design our streets and spaces within that human-defined speed framework. Involving the driver as part of the surroundings, speeds automatically drop. You don't need speed limits or speed controls to do so, because drivers are not fools. They can understand that they're part of the public realm. And by doing so, it then becomes perfectly comfortable for waiters to walk across the road. And intriguingly, those cities that have succeeded, like Lund in Sweden, have found that journey times for cars moving into or through the city have improved as a result of the lower speeds.
Well, up till now this is the most complicated design of shared space I know about. It's a crossing where 22,000 cars daily pass by, and on the other hand it's the entrance to the shopping center and it's the entrance to the theater, so a very strong function for the human interaction and an enormous amount of traffic. And we also have the idea that in the future there even might be more traffic on this place. So for the amount of traffic we absolutely needed a roundabout. But for spatial quality, a roundabout is something horrible. And to find a solution, we try to make a roundabout that's not dominant. It's just part of the square we built. So when you drive on the roundabout, you feel part of the square. So the square is deciding what type of behavior you show. And actually it works wonderful, because the capacity of the roundabout is more than we ever had thought about, because many bicycles are crossing by and disturbing normally the flow of traffic. But because people are interacting with each other, there is no disturbance of the flow. They negotiate their way around the roundabout, meeting each other, greeting each other, and what you find again is that the whole social attitude of people is being used again. We find people showing off, want to go to the left or to the right. People are greeting each other again. So the whole social quality of society pops up again as soon as we change the place. So in that terms, it's quite successful. And we have made some evaluations now where it shows that there is absolutely less accident. We have no queues anymore, and people estimate it a very much more quiet and nice place to be. There are only some elderly people think they find it a little bit more difficult to cross. But in practice we never show or see people waiting or not daring to cross the street. But that's just the idea that people have to get used to the new responsibility that has been given to them in this design. And I think it's the most extreme example of shared space I can show with this amount of traffic in the inner cities. And what's so nice is that with this knowledge it could be an example for many of the crossings in our bigger cities. I really believe in that.
The idea of transferring responsibility, actions, control and authority from the state down to communities and to individuals, to treat people with respect, to treat people as if they were individuals with their own intelligence, lies at the heart of shared space, and is very different from the standardized, controlled role of the state from which most modern traffic engineering emerges. So that, if you like, as Hans Monnemann has put it, that a safe street is one that tells a rich story about its past, its context, and the future hopes of its residents. So that the relationship between safety and context is one that is absolutely at the heart of these principles.